Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Bible Journaling. It's going to be a good day. I just know it. Hello to all my people who are on here already. Good morning. Linda, good morning. Marianne, another Linda. Hello. Beverly from Elk Grove. Okay. Debbie, good morning. Yeah, from Stormy, Oregon is right. Stormy Salem. We have had crazy wind and rain and more to come. So just not that unusual for us. It's just that we usually don't get the wind, the stormy weather. Good morning, Marianne. Where can I find the list? Okay, so in the first 10 minutes, I do try to put everything out for you so that you can see what I'm using. And I try to leave the SKU numbers uncovered so that you can see what I'm using. So hopefully you guys that are following along with me have been able to get your supplies out. Pretty simple projects today, honestly. We're using a few more stamps because I want to show you how to create these little scenes. And they're really versatile, they're really fun, and you can switch out your little structures. So we're going to do that today. And we're going to pull in some other sets from our watercolor line. And if you don't have those, you can just leave the inside open, and you can put some of your text in there. So, always keep that in mind. You don't have to do it exactly the way I'm showing you. I just want to give you ideas of things that you can do in your margins. Okay, Jane. Oh, snowy Minnesota. Oh, wow, Jane. I don't know. That's a tough one. I would probably depends on how long you have the snow. So when it's snowing there, it's probably there for now. I mean, it's probably there for the winter, right? Or do you get some reprieve from it? I always think of Minnesota as just being white, like all winter. So I love the snow. We don't get it that often, but I don't know if I could handle it all winter. That would be, that'd be a lot. And I'm cold all the time. So just the freezing cold would just be such an adjustment. But I guess, you get used to it. If that's where you grew up, especially us in Oregon, where I was born and grew up. So, the rain, it's just part of winter. It just kind of becomes part of what you know. Um, Patricia, hello. Um, Linda, yes. Cheryl from Kentucky. Hello, Cheryl. Kren, hello. Oh, beautiful in Florida. Okay, so Kren is enjoying she's got some sunshine. Teresa, cold California. Yeah, you're in that same weather pattern that we are. We've been hearing about this weather pattern that's coming in, hurricane winds and just buckets of rain, which is really kind of unusual for us. We don't usually get that extreme weather. Crisp and cool, San Jose. No kidding, Diana. We're about ready for it to be gone. Hello, Tony. Jill, hello. Jill, welcome. You haven't been on here for a while. We missed you. So, well, we're just glad you're here. And some people can't be on live. Totally understand that. And, just come on whenever you can. That's why it stays on here so that you can catch it, when you're able to. Sharon, happy to have you here. Amy from Virginia. Linda, hello. Linda Meyer. Linda, where are you right now? I feel like, are you in California, Linda? Put on here where. Cherie, hello. Terry, hello. Sharon, Wendy here too. Yep. Barbara, good morning. Sunny and in the 50s in New York. Okay, that I could do. I could do the 50s and sunny for sure. Kathy, good morning. Michelle, Margaret. Yeah, Debbie, she freezes all the time. Me too. My best friend is a blanket on the couch. Rainy, Georgia, Debbie says. Rainy, Ohio. Wow, you guys, we're getting some weather. Let's just all go visit our friends in Florida. How about that? We'll have a live from Florida. Marianne, okay, hello. She says, so glad I could make it. Oh, ladies Bible study at church got canceled, so this is the next best thing. Oh, so happy to have you here, Marianne. Great. Linda, Wisconsin. Okay, so wow, was I off? I was off. Hello, Linda. Shelby, hello. Atlanta. She says they need the rain. Yep, I get it. Okay, you guys. Okay, let me just give one little quick announcement. And I talked about this on the last Bible Journaling Live. And we are planning a Bible journaling retreat in mid-June of 2025. So we're in the process of just beginning that, organizing that event. So more information will be coming. Hoping that this is an annual event. So it will be here in Oregon. And I just would love to, have as many could come. So just kind of keep that in mind. Pray about that. See if you could drive across the country, maybe. I mean, it's beautiful in June. Or hop on a plane and join us. Oregon is absolutely beautiful in June. So bring your family, bring your friends, take a trip to the coast, up to the mountains. That would all be really fun. And join us for a retreat, 2-day retreat. We are thinking it will be Friday and Saturday. And then you can head back either Saturday night or Sunday. The airport is PDX in Portland, and it is about 30 minutes from the venue. So we will be hosting it at a hotel and blocking off some rooms. So that will be a simple drive. It's a very simple drive from the airport. It's all just the freeway, and then you hop off and the hotel is right there. So if it's something that you would be interested in, would you leave that in the comments and just let us know? Space is going to be limited, especially for our first one. So we're going to just have a lot of fun. I really want to do it. It's been on my mind for weeks and weeks. And I just think it would be just so much fun. We're going to Bible journal. We're going to do a project, which will also be really fun. And we're just going to have time to spend together. So Marianne says, my family has started an Oregon Adventure Fund for you for Christmas. That is a great idea. You guys put that on your Christmas list. Marianne, I hope part of your Oregon adventure will be here in Salem. Actually, it will be between Salem and Portland, so it'll be in Wilsonville, which is halfway between us and the airport. So from Salem to the airport, it's about an hour, and this will be just about 30 minutes. Super easy drive. And you guys, it's just going to be so much fun. So if that's something that you think you might be able to do, just put that in the comments. I would just really be interested in how many we are, could possibly make it happen. And then we kind of have an idea. So again, more information will be coming, dates and details will be coming in January. So just wondering, Betsy says she would come. Betsy, we would love to have you. I just think, I don't know, I'm so attached to you guys already. And I just would love to, get together. I just think it would be just so much fun to do. So, and again, this will be an annual. We're gonna make this an annual event. So if you can't swing it this year, maybe next year, and we'll probably keep it to the same time of the year. It's easier to travel in the summer months as far as weather conditions. Some of you I know live clear across the country, and we are way over here on the West Coast. So if you're coming, from Wisconsin or, New York, somewhere like that with severe weather, it's hard to travel, for those of you who are in that severe weather states. So June is a good time to come, especially here in Oregon. Marianne, okay. Marianne, our first absolute definite, yes. So excited for you to come. I think it'll be a great time. Kim for sure will be there. Of course, the AI team will be there, Phil and Joel. And then, we're working on Kendra, depending on where she is. It would be really fun to have her if we could swing it. So you guys, we're just going to have so much fun. We have so many things planned already and things that we're going to do. Really, really, really fun project, you guys. It's going to be really fun. So, okay, 2026, Jane. Yes, I'm writing you down. You're committed now. 2026. Jane is coming. I just think it'll be fun. So anyway, keep that in mind. Pray about it. Like I said, mid-June in Oregon. Would love to have you. So let's get to our projects. I'm going to switch over now to the other camera. And here is everything that we're going to need. So you can see this is, I think last time we only used the truss set. I think we only used this set. This time we've got a few more. So, and again, it doesn't have to be exactly the way that I'm showing you. But I love doing these little tiny scenes. They're not complicated. They don't, one little scene doesn't require a lot of images. And they're so cute to put in your Bible. They're just kind of really peaceful, and they can just go anywhere. When you aren't sure exactly how to illustrate a page, you can do something like this. These little things go anywhere. So, keep that in mind. So what I'm showing you is something like this that you can put into your Bible. So let me just go through everything that I'm going to be showing you. In a foliage, you just need a vine like this, and then this kind of tall, straighter grass. It doesn't have to be this set. And if you've got, a set that has a straight, tall grass like this one, but it's way bigger, remember you can ink just parts of it. So maybe you take the middle section out of it and you just use that. So, always keep in mind that you're inking the parts that you want to show. So we're just going to use a vine. It could be these two, it could be this one. It could be any of the vines that you have in your collection. All right, so this one, we're going to use a little evergreen tree. But again, it could be any tree that you have. We're going to use this one. I haven't used this one in a while. It's so cute. It's super easy to use in a project like this because it literally takes nothing. You're going to stamp it, you're going to add a tiny bit of water, and you've got a little evergreen tree in the background. So maybe you want a tree, by where you live. And so maybe a palm tree, and you can do that. You can put that in. So keep in mind, it's just a tree. We're just adding a tree into the background into both of these projects. So this is the one I'm using from the tree set. In here, so this one, we're just using the vine right here. We're going to use this one on the wreath, the little wreath, this one right here. So we're going to use this large vine. Again, it could be any vine that you have. This one is part of the Bible journaling foliage set. It's in there, and you can use that one. Okay, here's something else. If you don't have these two, so here, let me show you the ones that I'm using first. I'm using this little church from the church set. And this is a set that would be a fun one to add, especially if you're doing Bible journaling, because these little churches are just great anywhere. And they come with these little trees that work really well with any of the foliage. So you will be able to use these in multiple places in your Bible. They're just a really nice size, and you can see this little one. It fits just perfectly inside here. So this is the one that I'm using, and then in the larger one here, I'm still using this small, the mini cottages set, this one right here, but you could also use something from this set, any little structure, or you can swap it out with one of the churches also. So really what I'm saying is any little structure that is similar to this size, and let me just measure it so you can see. This is, about just, 1.25 inches, something like that. Any of these would work in that same situation, in here. The churches, this little church, this one for sure would work. This one would work. And so just, whatever little structure that you have from whatever set. And it can also be a small one like this. This is the one that I used in the card. So I just made a card too. Keep in mind, you guys, a card is so really nice to have, on hand. So while you're journaling in your Bible, just make another one. Make another one and just add it to a card. And see, here's the small version. So this is this tiny little structure right here. This is also a really nice set to have because, a little farm with some sheep, little barn with some sheep would be really cute. For, something in your Bible, a little cabin out here would be also really cute. Any of these little structures will be great in something like this. All right, so anyway, isn't that cute? I just think the card is just so cute. A little wreath, and this wreath is so simple. We're going to make it. I'm going to show you how to do it, but it's so simple and it's great for, any occasion. When you just want to send a hello to someone, or you want to send thinking of you or a thank you, anything like that. These can be for any occasion. And it's basically a little structure and some trees. Like, honestly, that's it. And then this sort of rounds out and frames out your illustration. Okay. Sorry, Marianne. I thought you said May the month. Okay, just wrote out there. But when the dates are released, perhaps whoever wants to, we can plan a shopping and lunch day after the retreat. I'm hoping to stay 4 or 5 days and would love to meet many of my journaling girlfriends as pot. I know. You know what? We're going to feel like we don't have enough time. There's not enough time to sit and talk. That is a great idea, Marianne. Yes. And you know what? Just put it out there. We'll put it out there as soon as we have the dates. We'll put it out there. And then those of you just connect. Maybe you are flying in around the same time and you can just carpool over. Maybe you can share a room at the hotel. So these will be double, rooms. They'll have 2 queen beds. And we're getting a price discount by getting a block. So keep that in mind, you guys. We're friends already. And it's just going to be so fun to just get together. So that's a great idea, Marianne, for sure. All right. So anyway, let me just move all of this aside now. And then in addition, of course, we're using something from the Trust set. And in this case, it's just this little bud vine. And it can be little buds, or it can be green little leaves. It can just be whatever. And I'm using the one that is going to the left like this. Okay, and see, there are sentiments here. So if you don't have a little structure, use one of these little sentiments here. Don't be afraid. Trust in you with my whole heart. Just the word trust. Any of these things will go inside here as well. All right, so let's move these things aside. And let me show you what pen colors we're using. So here are all the colors that we're using. Not very many. We don't need very many, honestly. Mostly the greens, the blue for the sky, these 2 blues for sure. All things that we use over and over again. The yellow for the windows, of course, browns, And I'll show you when I go to grab a pen. I'll show you. So let's move these out of the way. Oh, you know what? One more from that set. Let me show you one more from the Trust set that we're using. And that's the border. This border. These little borders are just so cute to use. Look how cute it is on here. And I just added it to the bottom and the top. So now let's zoom in. Now that I've got all that stuff out of the way. So let's zoom in so that you can see this up close, but look how cute this is. And this is a long border because you'll be able to use it, and it connects. So you'll be able to use it at the top of your page or at the bottom of your page. So you could even run it this direction on here. But it's just so cute. You could use a single. We're just going to ink 2 of them. So we're just going to ink, a couple of these. You can take the 2 in the center like this. And then here's what I do. I just hang it off the block. So, I'm just going to ink these 2. We'll do it when we do the project. We're just going to ink these 2 and just stamp it on there. So it's these little borders they're just great. And you can just color and make them whatever color you want to. And they'll just add so much to your page. All right, so you will need a positioner, most likely. A little positioner, and the circle that we're making is this 2 1/4 inch die. So we're just tracing around this, and that is the size of the little wreath that we're doing. So we're going to get to that. I'll show you exactly how we're doing it. But if you're doing it with me, this is about a 2¼ inch little circle. It doesn't have to be a die. It's just something that you can trace around. And it doesn't also have to be 2¼ It could be 2, or it could be 2½. It's not that big of a deal. And of course, I've prepped my page in here so that I can stamp this in here. Prepped it with the absorbent ground, the golden brand absorbent ground, brushed it on, and then let it dry, and really let it dry, because if it's got any moisture at all in it, you will see it. Your pen colors will start to bleed, and you're just not going to get the crisp image. So make sure you dry it, make sure it's dried. I usually prep my pages and let them dry overnight, but you can also use a blow dryer. So that will help you, but you really want to make sure that it's dry. And then when you stamp on it, with the ground, here's the point of it, is that you can't see anything on the back side. So it preps your page so that you can, you don't see anything on the back side. So that's the first way. This is the second way, is to just stamp it on this adhesive peel off watercolor paper. This is actually watercolor paper. And we had this made just for us, so you can't find it. And the reason that we had it made with the adhesive is so the paper doesn't buckle on the back side with a liquid glue. So it's just so nice, and it's absolutely paper thin. So it doesn't add a lot of bulk to your pages, which I also really like. So I use a combination of both. Sometimes I now work in just directly on the page like this, because this now is just the thin page. And the more that you open it and use it, the smoother it gets. And I've noticed that with some of my older Bibles that I've been working in, it's just paper smooth after a while. And you can see the color really blends into the page. So you can't really see that it's even there. It's just a really nice way to do it. The downside, of course, is that you can't make a mistake. So if you're nervous about this and messing up in your Bible, start with the watercolor paper. And you can die cut this to whatever size you want. It comes in full sheets. So if you want a circle, maybe you're not quite confident to do a circle in your Bible, die cut these in a circle and just glue it in, like that. Marion says, love that paper. I paint on it, then attach it to a little wood sign for a gift. Great idea. Absolutely great idea. Karen, haven't been in for a while. Haven't been watercoloring since September. Karen, we're so happy to have you. So happy to have you with us. And it's life. Life just, it takes us, and sometimes we can't get to the time in to do it, and that's okay. So we just come when we can. All right, so now, anyway, we have these two options, totally up to you. And if you're starting and a beginner, I would suggest this one first, because you can always make it until you're happy with it. So cut several strips, or cut your regular watercolor paper. We use the Canson on our watercolor projects that are not, for journaling, but use that and cut it into strips and practice on that, because it's way cheaper than this. This is more expensive because of the adhesive back on it. But practice on it until you get one that you love. And once you've done that, do it on your watercolor paper, and then you can put it into your Bible, and you're going to be happy with it. Okay? All right, so let's get to it. And let's go to our verses that we are doing this week. And they are Psalm 37:5. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. And then Psalm 9:10, those who know your name trust in you, for you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. Love it. So those are the two places that we are going to journal today. This one I did in Psalm 37. The neat thing about the Psalms is that you have lots of space. You can put something like a wreath like this in here, because you're not going to stamp over the text. Now, if that, doesn't bother you, then you can do it. You can see here, close up, let me just show you. If that ground gets on your text, you can still read it. And even if you get a tiny little bit here, this doesn't bother me because I can still read the word, but I wouldn't want to obscure all of my text here. But if you're okay with that and that doesn't bother you, then you can do these larger projects just anywhere in your Bible. So that's totally up to you. But I love these Psalms, Proverbs, all of these books that have large margins because you can really do some fun things in there. Totally, totally fun to do that. All right, so let's set this aside. And for those of you who don't know, maybe you are new, you can get this list on our website. So if you go to artimpressions.com at the very top, under Get Inspired, you'll see the suggested reading for Bible journaling. You'll see that in the list, and just click on that, and you can download and print these. So you'll have those scripture verses. Look at you guys. We're gonna be finished here. I mean, we just have, we have today, we've got 1, 2 more lives, and then we're going to be on to our new quarter. So that will be starting in January, and that set will be out really soon. So keep an eye out for that new set. We'll be starting a new series. So this will be series 2, and the first quarter will be starting in January, and then we'll be going next year. So you guys, we're not quitting. We're just going to keep going. Okay, so let's start with, which one should we start with? Let's start with the watercolor paper. Let me move this aside, and we'll do this one first. So I went ahead and pre-stamped it. Let me just get over and get into the screen. That would be a good idea. Let's do that. And we're going to do the middle first, so I'll zoom in on that. So you can see what we're doing here. So here's where we're going. We're going from here to here, and we're going to add this little center section. So what I did was I took this little middle section and blocked it out. And the marks are at 2 and 5. So if you lay your ruler on here, you want to make a little mark at 2 and then at 5, and then just make another little one, another one at 2 and 5. And then just draw a straight. Looks like I didn't get that straight on here, but oh well, it doesn't matter. So then you'll have this middle section, and the middle section is actually, how much is that? Is that 3 inches? Yep, it's 3 inches in the middle. So you could do it. You could do it the other way too. If you're not sure how big you want the center, you can just find the center of your strip, and the strip is 7 inches. And the center is at 3.5. So you could mark the center, and then you can kind of go from there and say, well, I kind of want, 2 inches or 1.5 inches or whatever from the center. And that's how you can kind of find the middle. But in this case, I just did it. I just did it for you. So it is at 2 and 5. You guys, if you want to do it just exactly like this, you can do that. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tape it off because we don't want to get any of this color into the side edge or down below here. So we're just going to use some Post-it tape like this, but you could use a sticky note, you could use masking tape, you could use washi tape, and that will also work. So we're just going to block off, we're just going to put the tape right along the line like this, and then another one down here. And this time I'll just get it straight. So we'll just drop it down a little bit here. Like so. Now we've got the center blocked off. Now, if you don't mind that the color goes to the edge and you like that look, you don't need to block off the sides. You can just leave that. And you can eyeball it, or you can just let your color run clear to the edge. So that's just another option. I personally like to frame it in a little bit and have this look of this kind of finished edge around the outside. So, that's totally up to you. But to get that, you want to do another strip. And, whoops, that's not big enough. Let's just go a little bigger here. And you can see through where your paper is. Can you guys see that on the camera? You can see where that edge is, and you can just line it up. You can also, if you want to, just measure. If you want to measure it, make sure that it's, exactly, the same. You can do that. It's probably about maybe an eighth of an inch, but you can definitely eyeball it and see if it's straight. This one looks a little wide here. Let's go over just a bit. Let's see. That's probably pretty good. That looks pretty good to me. Maybe this one is just a bit crooked. Post-it tape comes up so easy. that it's just really, really easy to work with. It won't rip your paper. Even if you leave it on there, it's going to be fine. This will also sort of, cement your little canvas down to your mat so it won't move. Okay, so now that that's all blocked off, we can get started on our little painting. And, like I said, keep in mind, it doesn't have to be this house. It doesn't even have to be a house. It could be, just flowers in the background. And you can graduate your flowers. So we've got these little white daisies in the foreground, and we're going to do those with the white paint. So we don't have to leave space for those. Doing this little thing in the foreground is such a simple, easy thing to do. So keep that in mind, and it adds a little dimension to your project because it's a little bit three-dimensional putting this white paint on here. So let's just start with the little house, and I've got my brush and my water. So let's move this out of the way, and then I'm going to just get my brush wet. I'm using my number 4 to start. Get that really wet, tap it off. And then you want to just take your thumb and just pinch that off all the way until it's flat. And you've gotten most of that water out of here. And then again, now every time you dip it, only the tip, the very tip of your brush, and then pinch it off. So you're going to do it the same way every time. And if you notice it's too much water, just keep pinching it off. Just keep pinching it off like this. It doesn't take a lot of water. And it's easy, it's really easy to get too much water on there, honestly. Okay, so now I'm going to start out just by pulling the color out of the lines, and it's always going to be darkest under the eaves like this. So we can just start out by just pulling this color out. And then the darkest side is over here. This is the darkest side. And you can see on here that my little house is just a bit crooked, the way that I stamped it. See the difference here? If that happens to you, it's a fairly easy fix, honestly, to where you don't notice it. And really what you want to do is you just want to add a little bit more to this side so that it looks like this is the line straight across. Let me show you. So if it looks like it's leaning forward like this, you want to just create a little bit of a extra little line here. So you just want to come forward like that. Actually, that's the opposite. That's leaning forward. No, we want to go the other way. We want to go this way and pull this one down. There we go. And see, it looks like it's just straightened out, doesn't it? And it's just kind of an optical illusion. It's still leaning a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And this line here, we can also bring this down. So that's kind of, it was a little skewed, and, now we can just make that adjustment. See up here too. And I thought about restamping it, and then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to tell you guys how to fix it. I'll just tell you how to fix it. And then we can just go like this here with the bottom. Okay? And it's close enough that it's not gonna be noticeable. All right, so now let's add some color to it. So we're going to need some blue for the door. This is the 526. And I should tell you what I stamped this in. So the two colors, 565, 969. And I used a positioner. This is a rubber stamp, so it's hard to line it up in a with a stamp platform. So you really need a little positioner like this. And just, stamp it into the corner, place it on here. You can see exactly where you want it. Place this back, remove this, and now place your stamp back in the corner again. And then you can get it exactly where you want it. Okay, so we've got blue. We need some of this darker blue, the 565, for our shadows. And then we need a little brown for the roof. So this brown right here will work. And that looks pretty good. We're going to add our trees into the background, and then the green. We need some green. So let's add some green. This is the 177. Whatever the green is, and I didn't put the numbers on here. The green can be whatever green you have. That's not, it doesn't have to be this one. 969. And then this one was the 565. Okay, so now let's add some color. Let's just start by adding some color to the roof. Always better to go light. Always better to do that. Leave a tiny little highlight along the top. It's going to give you a little dimension to your roof. And then this side here, this is in the shadow, so this is going to be just a little bit darker. Just a little bit darker on this one. And you can see that angles it back. See, by just making that a little bit darker, it's going to just kind of angle this back into the background. Okay, so now let's add some color to the shadow side, the shady side of the house. This will also make it look much more three-dimensional. You know, if you color all of this the same, it's just going to look like a house with a line through it. It's not going to have any depth like this does. This sets it back into the distance. So you're just going to put this on. And it's going to be, you know, a little darker. It's going to be a little darker because it's in the shadows. And you can see how that just changes everything, just doing that one little thing. And then we'll take a little bit more of this blue and we'll just put it under the eaves like this. So just a little shadow under there. And then we need a big shadow under here. And you can see how that it just changes everything. The little shadows we add, and it's the same, you know, everywhere. It doesn't matter what structure you're using. If you make the shadow the same way, it's gonna look great. Okay, so now let's do that little door. We're just adding a bright blue. You can make the door whatever color you want. Like so. And then let's just take our twin tone, so our dark brown twin tone, and let's get this little eave up here really dark. This is going to be really dark up here in the corner. And the same back here. Really dark back here. Let me just move this out here so I can use my elbow. So really dark in there. And that's going to just kind of, you know, define this roof a little bit too. We want the roof to look like it hangs over. That's where we're going with this. So we want it to look like it hangs over and we're getting shadows underneath it. And the door too. We want this door to be kind of inset. So it doesn't look like it's just flush with the outside of the house. So in order to do that, we're going to take a little more of this dark blue. And we're just going to put a little half arc in here. And see how that just sets the door inside. It's such a, you know, simple little thing. But it really does. It really makes a difference. And then we can really darken this kind of up in here. Patricia, thanks for joining us. She's got to go back to work, but I totally understand. Okay, so now let's do the windows. And we're just going to use the bullet tip of the yellow pen. So the 993, and we're just going to use the bullet tip. And we're just going to put in the little window panes. And it's just, seriously, just little lines. They're just single lines. Just like that. You can make them blue, the windows, you know, blue inside. I just, you know, they look so happy when they're yellow. And just do the best you can on the side. You know, it's pretty small. The windows are pretty small over there. So just kind of do your best with that. I put some detail on here, and I'm doing it with a pencil. So this is a very tiny, small little structure, but you can get, this detail in here just by using your pencil. And just put some little lines in here for texture. Some over here, along this little roof, totally up to you if you want to do it. And then follow the angle here. And just draw these lines kind of coming down. And then you've got, and then let's do we didn't do the doorknob, so let's do the little doorknob here. And then these little windows that are on the side, we're going to see this edge, of the window. So we can just kind of barely put that in. And then just maybe a little bit just here at the top. And so we can kind of outline those windows. And you see what happens when you put that dark color above? It sets the window back inside. Otherwise, it can look like the window is just kind of attached to the front of the house. It doesn't have any depth. And a window actually goes back inside just a little bit. So when you add that tiny little dark line at the very top, it pushes that window back inside. It's just a simple little thing, but it honestly, it really works. Now we can do the same texture with a twin tone on the door if you want to. So just super light. You can add a little texture to the door like that if you want to. Okay, so look how cute that little structure is. It's the same with any one that you're doing. Any little house you're doing, you're just gonna do them all the same way. All the same way. Okay, so now let's put in the sky up above and our green grass down below. So I just put in a little, walkway, just a little, little path like this. And then, I'll put in a little bit of grass in here and then the trees into the background. So I really just need that blue sky here. And I want to make sure I'm getting it in the corners so that when I take the tape off, I can see this border all the way around. So I just want to make sure that I get color all the way around. So let's get some water on our brush. Now I'm not pinching it off this time. So I'm dipping my brush in water and I'm just going to add the water to my palette. Just like this. And you want to make sure you have enough water so that you can move the color around. And just kind of start up here and just kind of brush it around. You can have some little, white spaces in here. Especially around the house. Maybe there's a little cloud line, back behind here. And so you can show that. You could add just another little layer of blue to just add some more texture in the sky. But don't overthink this. This is the sky is such a simple thing, and I think sometimes we just stress over it too much, and just let it be. Just put a little color. Just make sure, the biggest thing is to make sure you have enough water, and you've got enough water on here so that you can move the color. If your brush is too dry, you're not going to be able to move the color, and you're going to get streaks, and it's really hard to fix that. It really is. You can kind of keep trying to add water to it, but it's a really hard fix to do that. So it's just best to just practice. Get a piece of watercolor paper and just practice putting the blue on it, or the blue sky. Whatever color you want your sky to be, just add, water to your palette and just practice pushing that color around. All right, so now let's get the green in. Because we're adding a lot of water to this, we want to make sure that it dries before we start stamping anything on top of it. With this paper, watercolor paper, because it's so thin, you need to make sure that your colors are dry before you stamp over the top of them. And it just takes a little bit longer to do that. All right, so now we're going to do the same with the green. We're just going to add water to here, and we're going to kind of have do the same effect with the green as we did with the sky up above. So we're just going to start by just brushing it in, next to our little sidewalk, little path. And you could come up here just a little bit, with it. And then if you want to, you can mix the greens a little bit. So we can add some of this, 249. Maybe we add some of this to it. And we just kind of mix it up. And then we can add just a little bit more down here. And this can kind of go off the side here, this little path. And just get, get enough color on here. We're going to add all of these florals. So we need to have a dark enough background that the white will really pop. When we add it onto here. Just a few little patches, maybe a darker green. Again, don't stress out about this. Don't stress out about this. All right, so let's check that. It feels pretty dry, so let's just wait a second longer and just make sure. Let's just add a little color to our path on here. And it's not a bad idea to kind of muddy up the white a little bit too. Just pull a little bit of this color out to the house so that it doesn't look so stark white. We do it that way. Okay, that feels pretty dry now. So we can put our trees in. We're going to start out with the tree to the side here. And this is the little fir tree that I'm using. You can see it's pretty big. I don't need to use the whole thing. So I'm probably just going to use maybe just down to about here. So this part of it. And I'm going to use my 177 green. And then I'm going to just kind of stamp it off the page. So you could use your positioner here, or you can just kind of eyeball it. Now I need to hit that again because I'm missing part of it here. So I'm just going to hit it again, just like that. And so that's pretty good right there. This one, we're going to stamp these trees up here. We're going to stamp them along the top. So I'm just going to cover up my little house and make sure I don't get, actually, let's just do it this way. Make sure I don't get the roof stamp over the top of the roof. So let's just cover it this way. Because it's okay if I stamp the tree down on the side. That's totally fine. But let's just do this here. So now I've got my little roof covered. And now I can just ink this tree, however tall I want it. So maybe I've got one that's, up here. And then I'll just re-ink it again. And maybe I've got another one. Maybe let's just go a little taller. And let's just stamp one off the edge here. And just get that color in. And then we'll take this off. And you can see we've got our little tree in here. And I think I just want to get a little more of this green just kind of in here. Just to kind of fill that background in. And now I can just take my brush, pinch it off, and just touch, make sure your brush isn't too wet, and just touch all these little limbs. Just like this. That's all you have to do. Such an easy little tree to do. And I've got all this texture back here, and I can add just a little bit in here. And then down here in the back. And to kind of finish this tree off, because it's kind of sitting in the grass, I can just add a couple more little branches that are kind of down on the ground. Okay, so cute. Cute. All right, so now let's see how our green's doing. Okay, our green feels dry. So let's go to this one. And we're going to put in the texture in the background. So honestly, because we're adding these flowers, it doesn't matter how you put this texture in, honestly. We just need to make sure we have enough color, and we've got quite a bit of green here, that the white shows up. if it's too light, then we can't see our little white flowers in there. So basically what we're doing is we're going to take that grass, so this one right here, and I don't really need the tops of it. I just kind of need the straight grass. So I'm just going to kind of take the middle of it and just kind of start putting it in here like this. And then maybe some of these are a little shorter in here. And then maybe I'll just do a few more here. We can add just a couple, you know, in here. And then let's add, let's change greens. And let's add some of this little vine here. So we'll just kind of grow some of this. Whoops, let's get that a little darker. So we can add some of these in. Maybe some of them are kind of growing out of the bottom. You know, up in here. Just, you know, whatever vine, maybe we'll just have a little one growing up here. Whatever vine you have, you know, or different textures that you have for grasses are going to just be fine. What you don't want is a really short, tiny little grass that is going to bring your ground line up. So we want this to look like we're looking at a field that's kind of going out. So what we don't want to do, or what we don't want, are horizontal lines going across. So you don't want to take your brush and make a line here, because that will make this flat, make the ground flat. And we want it to look like it's just a field going back in here. So let's do another, let's add just a little bit more grass, maybe back in here. And then maybe just a little bit more here. And, you know, we'll add just a little more there. Okay. And now we're just going to bring these lines straight down. Just straight down. Pull that color down to the bottom. And then add a little color to the vines like this. And then we're just going to take the top of the little tree. So I'm just going to use a little a baby wipe and just clean this off. Make sure I get it all off of this tree. And then I'm not going to use the very tip, but I'm just going to use this, just a little section in here, and I'm just going to add a little bit next to the house. Just like some little, you know, bushes or something that are right next to the house. And then just add a little water. And then we'll just add some little flowers to these. Let's just do a couple more here on the side. Let's just do these. Let's just do one right over here. And again, you know, if you're not sure, use your positioner, because then you can get it exactly where you want it. So it's a little hard when the stamps are rubber because you can't see through them. But if you keep it into the corner like this, you can even move it clear up like this if you're stamping just this little section. And then you can see, you know, right here in the corner is where it's going to be. So it makes it a little bit easier to line it up. And then just, you know, I'm taking a little bit of my, the green and just adding just a few little dots in here for these little hedges. Okay? And it looks like a mess. It really does. It looks like a mess, but it will all come together, I promise you guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the borders, and then we'll do the white paint on here. Okay, so let's take this off. And you can see how cute that that border is on here. And now you can erase these little lines. Most of the time, you know, the line that's straight across is going to get washed out with the sky and the grass. So you don't have to erase those, but just right here on the edges, you'll want to probably erase those. All right, so now when we go to do the bottoms, if you want to block it out, you can using your masking, you know, your mask or your Post-it tape, but it's pretty easy to just eyeball it. It's pretty easy to eyeball it. So what you want to do is make sure that you are that your blue is light, that it's really light. So you want to just kind of, you know, make sure you have enough water on here, kind of like the sky. Kind of like the sky, and make sure that you're going with a really light color. And then just kind of, you know, brush it in. Leave your little margins. You know, leave the margins just like we did with the main image, and just kind of brush it in like that. That's probably about the right size. I mean, I can just measure that for you guys too. So let's just measure it and I'll tell you about how big that is. It's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. So almost a quarter inch. You know what? It's probably, it's just over a quarter of an inch. It's just over 5/16. But you know, and you can see it's a little bit, just a tiny bit crooked. I've been doing things crooked lately, you guys. What does that mean? What's that a sign of? Don't tell me it's old age. Okay, let's do the bottom one now. Same thing. You can see how light my blue is here. I mean, it's really, really light. It's much better to do it light because you can see your stamp over the top. And you can always, you know, kind of come back in and add more color if you've got it too light, but you can't fix it if it's too dark. There's nothing you can do with that. Okay, and it just kind of adds just a little bit more interest to your project, kind of finishes it off. And then you've got room here that you can write. So you can write, you know, whatever you want to put in here. Okay, let's see if this is dry. Getting there. Okay, let's get our stamp. Let's get our stamp. And then I'm going to drop this down so that I can see over the top without leaning my head clear into the camera. Okay, so here are our little florals. These are the ones that we're going to be doing in this border. So you can see I've inked them before. You could take the two out of the middle, just whatever is easiest for you to line up. And you can see, because they're clear, you can see exactly where they're going. You could also use a positioner just to be sure, but you know, if they're off a tiny bit, it's okay. It's okay. All right, so I'm gonna just, let me lay it on here so you can see the color. I'm gonna use my blue, so the 526 blue, and I'm gonna just ink the little florals. So just 4 of them. Ink these up. And then I'm going to use my 177 green and get the leaves. And I didn't ink the heart in between. We're going to add that with white paint. Okay, so now we're just going to stamp this right into the middle of this little. Make sure you just have really good even pressure when you go to stamp it. You know, don't stamp it down like this, but just lay it on and just press and just make sure that you have good even pressure on here. Okay, and let's do the bottom one. Get the blue on here. This blue is just, it's so pretty. And because I use this blue in the door, I put it into these little florals down below, just kind of tie everything together. And now the little leaves. And again, we're not doing the heart. There's a little heart in between. So we're not doing that. Now we can do this one down here. And kind of center that and see exactly where it's going. And we've got our little florals in there. And then we're just going to add a little tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit of water, just a little bit of water to it. If you add too much, they're gonna bleed and they're gonna just get too big. So you just want just a tiny bit of water, just so that you can pop that color out. See how that makes that color more vibrant? And then you can just go straight to the little leaves. And you got your cute little border. And that green, I can go straight from the green to the blue because it's so similar. I don't have to clean my brush off. And then straight to the green from the blue. And you can see I didn't dip my brush in the water. So it's pretty pretty dry. All right, so now let's go to the you know what? Let's wait on the white paint until we can do both. So let me set this aside and let's go to the Bible project that we're doing inside the Bible. So let me just move this out of the way. And let me grab this one. And you can see I've got it stamped in here already and my circle drawn around it. So just a word of caution when you are penciling these circles in or penciling anything over the ground, just make sure you do it super, super light because it's pretty hard to erase if you have it dark. So don't just barely drag your pencil around the edge and just so that you can see where it's at. And I did it on the outside. You can do it on the inside too, but I did it on the outside of the circle. And this one is 2¼ inches. 2¼ inches. And the little church is pretty close to being right in the center. So you can see it's just a tiny bit up in this right quadrant right here. It's just a little bit farther up here. But it's so, you could put it in the center. It would be totally fine to do that. Okay, so let's get to this project, and I'm going to let's zoom in, because we're going to just start out by pulling the color out of the lines, just like we did before. And I stamped this in a gray, just in a light gray, so this one. And normally I stamp it in 2 colors, but I wanted it to be really light in here, and not see a lot of outside detail. So I inked it in this. You could also use those same 2 colors and you could stamp it off maybe twice, just to make sure you have it really light. Okay, and you can see how light that is. All right, so now we're going to add some color to the shady side, and that is the blue. So we're going to add this blue in here. Into the shady side. And make sure that we see that. And the same over here as well. The side of this little steeple. That's going to be dark. And then under the roof. Just put a little line across there. Like so. Let's put some color on the roof. And so I'm just taking the same brown. Let's just go see it on there. Let me turn it upside down. Can you guys read upside down? 969. 969. We're going to take some of this brown and we're going to just brush it onto the roof. And you can see I just left a tiny little bit of a highlight at the top of the roof. Just a tiny little bit. And I'm just going to go over it one more time. Get that color in here as well underneath. Let's get that a little bit darker. And then we're also going to add some color to the top of the steeple. And even a tiny thing like this, we're going to make sure that we're staying in each section. So each one. And then let's do the little door. This is the 526. This is the same color we used on the other door of the little house. So we can color this one. And then let's do the windows. So the little windows. And if you can do the, make them in little sections, it's going to be really cute to do that. If not, you can color them in solid. Get these little windows up here. And then we need that dark shadow that we're going to put in right here. Just that dark shadow to kind of, make that overhang really stand out. And then here. And then I'm going to get my my twin tone, and I'm just going to go along this roof edge again, just like we did before. And then in here, this is really, really dark in here. And you can see that really kind of sets that back. Underneath here, and then this part of the chimney, that's pretty dark. And then we're going to do the same thing with these tiny little windows, is to just kind of set them back into the little church. Same with the door. We want to set that back inside. Just like that. See how that, just those little details make such a difference. And then let's add a little texture to the roof like we did before. If I can find my pencil, here it is. So we're going to do the same thing here. Just put some lines in. And we've got our little church, and it's just so cute. So let's just do, we need to do one more thing. We need to get that shadow into the door. We need to get a little shadow inside here, so we can kind of set that door back in the background. Okay? So now let's go on to, let's do the wreath, and then we'll come back and do the, actually, you know what we should do is, let's do the sky and the grassy area, and then we'll do the wreath and let that dry. So let's do that. So I'm gonna put this back. Actually, let's put this back up here so you guys can see. And we're gonna take this blue, and we're gonna just water that down, and then just put the sky in. And we're gonna have that wreath around here, so we don't need to do, too much of it. We want to make sure we leave enough space for the wreath, and just kind of drag this down like this, like so. And then we need a little path again for this little church, so let's just kind of come around like this, and we'll just kind of end it there. So let's get some green in here, really light. And we'll just put some green down in here. Just kind of brush it in. And then we're going to be adding our trees into the background. So there we go. That's all we really need to do here. And then let's do our wreath while that's drying. And I'm going to take the large vine. So this is the large vine, and I've kind of put it on here on my block so that this is a little straighter up here, so I can see, easier where that's going. So I'm just going to ink half of it. And then I feel like, for me, it's easier for me to go backwards when I'm doing this, especially in the Bible like this. I don't know, for some reason it just feels easier for me to go backwards, and I can see where I've been. So I'm going to be turning this a lot. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to be turning, so let me get all my stuff out of the way so I don't knock anything over, especially my water. Get the blocks out of the way. So make sure you have enough space so that you can really turn your Bible around and get a good position to stamp this in. So I'm going to use this 177 green, and I'm just going to ink this about halfway. And I'm going to just start here and just go 1, 2, just like that. And then just down a little bit farther, and then 1, 2. And just keep turning it. Just ink it about halfway. And same thing, just 1, 2. Am I off the screen now? Make sure I'm not off the screen. Just around like this. It doesn't, you know, it honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can always go back in. Whoops, and I'm off screen again. Okay, can you guys see? Let's see, get this in here like this. You can see that I'm not being, you know, super careful. Is how I, you know, stamp these. I'm just stamping it in, you know, 1, 2, 1, 2. And let's just go a little bit darker down here. Okay, so now a word of warning to you guys. This is, you know, when I'm stamping this and I'm inking it, I've got my pen in my hand. Okay, so here's what can happen. And this happened to me when I was doing the project in my other Bible. So let me just show you this. Because I had my pen in my hand with the lid off, and I inked my stamp, and then as I'm turning it like this, I hit the corner up here with my marker. So to be really careful and mindful of that, or put the pen down. Just ink it and just set it down, and then stamp it, pick it up again, and do it again, because there's not really any way to fix this. There isn't, unless you could maybe put some the white paint on it. You could maybe put a sticker on it, but because the page isn't prepped, you know, there's no ground on here, so we can't, you know, really pull the color out. We can't really do anything except just make a big green blob here. So you know what, I'm gonna see what I can do to fix it. I mean, it looks a little bit like a tree here in the background. I mean, maybe there's some way to salvage it, but that is just what happens. And I was thinking of it when I was doing it, because I had it in my hand. I had my pen in my hand. Either that or shorten it and make sure you're using it short, because the more that you get it down like this, the less control you have when you're turning your Bible and you're stamping and you've got your pen in your hand. You can easily do that. So anyway, word of warning on that one. Then kind of look at it now and see if it looks pretty even. This looks a little thin here, so I'm just going to add another. See, this is what happens. You know, you've got it in your hand, and then you're moving your Bible around, and I'm going to do it again, you guys. I just know it. I'm just going to add a little bit more to the outside of this one. Okay? So now you can kind of look at it and see if you want to fill it in a little bit more. I mean, I feel like it's fine. We can always add a little bit more to it later. So let's just add some water, and add some water to it now. And you were just tapping it. So, you know, not too much water, but you want enough. And you can see I just keep pulling the water off of my brush to make sure I don't get it too much. And you're just dabbing it. You're kind of jumping your brush all over the top of it so that it can kind of just blend out and get that soft watercolor effect. So see, just like this. And just keep working your way around. You know, if you do that, you just jump your brush around, it'll just do its thing. It will just, you know, the light areas, you know, they kind of fade back, and then the darker color comes forward, and you just have this three-dimensional image that looks like it's been watercolored. It's cool. just fun. Okay, and I can still see my pencil lines under here. If I finish up and I still see them, I can erase some of them. I mean, it's stamped pretty light, so pretty easy to do. All right, so now we're gonna go to this little bud. Let's just call it a bud. And I'm gonna use the blue. So I'm gonna kind of tie in this color a little bit more from the door. And I'm just going to ink up, just, you know, not the whole thing, because we don't have room to do the whole. See, here's what happens. This is what I do. And then I, you know, and then when I'm stamping on it, I'm going to get a slash here. So I'm going to try to be really mindful. But if you shorten your pen, you have less chance of that happening. So we'll just put a couple of these in here. And just kind of, you know, work your way around. Turn your canvas so that you have a good position, you know, that you can stamp. Let's do one more in there. And let's just keep turning it. Another one in here. I just kind of work your way around. This is the one that kind of leans to the left. Okay, so we've got the blue in here. And again, look at it and see if it looks pretty even. You can always add a little, you know, vine or something, a few little leaves somewhere. And then we're going to take this one, so this little vine, and we're going to add it. And you change out your green. So you can go now to the 249. And again, this one is just short too. So we're just using, you know, maybe about this much of it. And just add in, you know, a couple of little leaves like this. This is where you can just put in whatever you want into here. You know, if you've got a different vine that you like, or you've got some florals, maybe you want to add some more color to it, you can do that. You know, make some just a little shorter, make some, you know, longer, a couple of times, stamp it in, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Shorten my pen up. Old habits are hard to break. They really are. Okay, how cute is that? And then we're going to add our white to it. So we're going to just go through here really with a pretty dry brush, you know, really pretty dry. Pinch it off really well and just touch the blue. Just not the stem, just the little buds. And the same with the vine. Just a tiny, you don't even have to get them all. Just a few, kind of here and there. You know, it's okay to have some of them be lighter. It just looks more natural. Okay, oh, we did pretty good with the sky. We could put just a little bit more in, maybe. But we're going to put the trees in, so we're probably fine. So let's just ink the trees up again. And we're going to stamp these in here. So this one, I mean, I can fit, I don't want to do the whole tree. So let's just ink it to here. So I'm going to just put this one in like this. And then I'll put another one in over here. Maybe just another, tap it again. And then this one, maybe just another one right here. And again, whatever trees you want to put in, you can. And remember how we just added the water to these? So just kind of follow the limbs. Don't make a brush stroke, but just kind of tap it just to add water to it. And again, we can bring the bottoms of the trees out a little bit. Okay. And let's just add a little more color just up here by the little church. We'll just brush in just a little darker color next to the path. And there we go. Turned out so cute. And now the only thing left to do is to add the white paint. So let's do it. So let me move my palette out of the way and my water. And we're using, of course, our friend Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. Love using this so much. So I'm going to use my bigger brush. And when you're doing these flowers, you know, don't try to make them in the shape of a flower, honestly. You just want to make them, well, I'm going to zoom in so you can really see. So we're kind of making these little patches of white. So I dip my brush in the water, and then I'm going to just make sure that I have it, if you guys can see that, you know, fairly thin. I mean, not super thin, because if your white paint is too thin, you'll be able to tell because the color will come through. And just go over it again. Just add more paint to it and just go over the top. Okay, so here's what we're doing is we're making these little white, they're like little white blobs. And they can kind of have, you know, the shape of a flower. You can kind of have a few little edges on them, but I think you don't want to make them look all the same. So you see how natural that looks? And then, you know, they're kind of tipped up. So if you're looking at them straight down, you're going to see all the petals and they're going to look all identical. But when you're looking at them from the side, they're going to look totally different. So when you make these all different shapes, you're sort of getting that impression. And look how much paint is on my brush. Make some a little smaller, you know, some a little bigger. And they're so fun to add to anything. And, you know, they just cover up any mistake. That's the other great thing about it. You know, if you mess up or you're not quite happy with how you stamp something, you know, just add a little white paint to it. And this part is it's a really kind of satisfying, kind of rewarding feeling when you're doing this, because it brings it all together. It really does. And you can make the centers. I made the centers yellow, but maybe you want a different color. So you see they're kind of little blobs, but they've got little kind of nubbins on them. Nubbins, is that a word? What was a word we thought of last time, you guys? Or was that on Watercolor Wednesday? Watercolory? Was that it? We'll just make up new words as we go. How about that? Veronica, hello, welcome. Glad to have you on here. Okay, so we're just making these flowers. And again, look how thick this paint is. You know, it's giving us dimension on here. You know, maybe just a little one. Don't get too many. I mean, don't cover the whole thing with white paint. You know, so that you can still see your vines and stuff on here. And I just got my finger in here, my knuckle. So let's just fix that. Okay, look how cute that is. Just little, you know, little blobs here and there. And different sizes. And then just, you know, take your time. I guess that's the biggest thing. Take your time and just kind of nubbins, Linda. Nubbins. Take your time and just, you know, enjoy the process. You know, we're doing this in our Bibles, you guys, as worship. And, you know, you want to read it, you want to think about it, you want to meditate on it, and you want to add something beautiful to it. And so just enjoy the process. Don't stress out, you know. And let's add a few little flowers, you know, in the background. So maybe we just add some into here, maybe a few in the grass. Maybe some back in here. And make some little flowers, you know, growing up. Maybe just a few in the grass. Cute. All right, so let's set this aside and let's grab our other project. And where is it? Okay, here it is. And we're going to do the exact same thing. The exact same thing. We're just going to put these all over the place. And think about them. You're looking at the side view again. So you don't want to see a daisy with a yellow center that is the exact same, that looks like a pinwheel. We don't want to see that. So we want these little kind of blobs like this, just little blobs, all different sizes, you know, some of them could be close together. And then, you know, as you're going out of the field and you're getting closer to the house, like these obviously would be way smaller. So these little ones that are up here, those are going to be way smaller. And then, you know, just wherever you want to put them. And, you know, you don't even have to like worry if they're growing, you know, if they're in the right position where the grass is. You don't have to worry about that either. You know, it's gonna come together. Just kind of all different shapes, just here and there. Just a field of wildflowers. And some, you know, smaller, some maybe are just little buds. And then let's add a few little florals to these little white flowers to these little bushes we've got. So we made these little bushes up by the house. And we can just make them be blooming white. And just, you know, kind of sit with it and look at it. You can always come back to it and add more if you want to. And just kind of blobs, just little blobs here and there. They're so cute. And let's see, maybe we just need a little small one in here. And maybe just, I don't know, maybe we need one down here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I think that's probably good. So let's, let me clean off my brush. And when you're doing the white paint, you know, you guys, it's always a good idea to have two things of water. And I didn't think of that today, so I'm glad we did the white paint last, because your water gets really muddy, and you know what? It affects your color. It will affect your color. If you just keep using it as your water and you're finishing up a painting, it will change the color. All right, so we've got this. Let me zoom out here now. I'm getting too close. And let me get this lid on. Get this out of the way. So let's let this one dry for a bit. And let's go back to the one in the Bible and let's check it out. And it looks like it's dry. It's really good. So always make sure that it's dry, the white paint, you know, before you add your center. And you can add whatever color center you want in here, honestly, whatever color. I picked the yellow. And then you're just going to make little yellow centers into your flowers. Let's zoom in. And some of them, maybe, flatter. Some of them, if you're seeing them front, the front, they're going to be rounder. And it's going to give dimension to your little, your wreath. Because it's going to change the direction of the flowers. See, this one's kind of narrow, so we're just going to make a little narrow thing. See how that changes it? This one's really tiny, this little one. This one is too. Maybe this one is more down here. And this one. And some of them, maybe you wouldn't see. Maybe some of them, there are two, two next to each other. But if you just change it up a little bit, it's going to give you another dimension. Just doing it. When you look at it, you'll be able to see, oh, I see what's happening here. So maybe a narrower one up here. Maybe this one is more front on so you can see it better. Maybe this one. And you can see just how cute that is. So cute. And this one's done. So you want to take your little year stamp, and I found mine. So I've been missing it for the last couple of lives. And I found it, and so I'm going to just stamp this little date in here. So you want to always do that. Just put it somewhere, hide it somewhere in your Bible. So let me just move this aside now. We've got that one done. And now let's do this one. And let's just put the date stamp in too while I've got it in my hand. And let's just put it, let's just put it down here. Okay, so now let's do the yellow in here. Let's see, are these dry? Yep, these are dry. So same thing, same idea with the yellow centers. Just kind of change it up, make them a little different. And there we go. So let's zoom out. And then we can see the full project. Finished. How cute is that? So you can also, you could put some lines in, you could journal something, you could use some of the text from here, you could put trust in here, or this one, he will make a way. That would be perfect, huh? If you put that in here. So you've got room to add whatever you want to this little project before you glue it in or after you glue it in. And sometimes you might come back to it, in a year or two, and then you might want to add something. So you can leave yourself space for the next time you read it. So I'm just going to take this pencil line off. And I think that's all. Okay. And it's, it's not going to be the same every time. Look how different they are. They're just, but that's what's the cool thing about it too, is that you can tell that it's made. You can tell that it's personally watercolored because it's not exactly the same. It's not a sticker that you buy or something that you purchase. It's something that you made, you created and put in there, which makes it so special. All right, you guys, let me leave you with something, and let me find it, because where was that I saw? Let me see. You know what? Let me switch over to the face cam. Here we are. And I had something and then I left my Bible over on the other table. So let's just find something. So how about this before we leave? And let me say thanks to everyone for joining me here today. It's so much fun doing this together with you, and I know how special it is to you. Same for me, and we have that in common. because we love God's word and we want to worship in this way. And that's what it really is. It feels like that to me. Every time I stamp inside my Bible, it feels like that. So, Debbie, you were going to add white hearts to the border. You guys, I cannot leave without doing that. Okay, let me switch back over. Thank you, Debbie. You know what? It's just, I don't know if I can get out of here without doing something like that now. So here's the white. Yeah, so let me zoom in. Debbie, thank you for that. I would have got off and thought, shoot, I didn't do the white. Okay, so let me just add this little heart. It's just 2 little strokes is how to make a heart. Like literally 2 strokes next to each other. Okay, there we go. There's the little heart. And there it is on the top. Simple. You could do the heart in whatever, you could do a heart or you could do something different. You could do just a little shape. It doesn't have to be a heart necessarily. Okay, so let me find what I was going to read to you guys. So let me switch this back over and let me get my Bible and let me find what I was going to read to you. So hang on one second here. And I had it written down, so let me find it. Okay. Psalm 46. Love it. Love Psalm 46. Okay, and I want to leave this with you. Okay, first 3 verses, and a reminder to us, of course. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. And then he goes down to verse 10. It says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Such a good reminder. Love it. You guys, thank you so much. Thanks for being with me today. I will be back again in 2 weeks, first and third Tuesday, always at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. So happy journaling, you guys.